Good morning, my fellow SCD warriors, my brothers and sisters who are also battling this horrendous genetic disorder that is so widely misunderstood and not very well known, surprisingly. I am 46 years old, born in 1974. When I was 18 months old, I went into what I believe was probably my first major sickle cell crisis. I developed pneumonia, nearly died. According to my mother and my grandmother, all of my teeth had turned black and they were about to fall out. And the doctor had no idea what was going on with me, but he basically told my grandmother and my mother to prepare as best as they could for me to pass on. At this point, my mother and father were not married. My dad, Willie Blade, was still a young airman in the United States Air Force, stationed at Luke Air Force Base. He entered the Air Force in 1972. 1974, when I was born, he and my mother were not married. They were together, just not married. And at the time of my hospitalization, I was not yet his confirmed official dependent. And my grandmother used to tell me this story all the time. She calls it the day she fell in love with Willie Irvin Blade. The day she fell in love with my father was the day that he walked Luke Air Force Base in Arizona in the summertime, in high temperatures, in his green fatigues. You guys remember those little ugly olive green fatigues and his black combat boots. But she said that he walked that base until he had every document filled out and signed, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed, so that I was able to receive military benefits and be taken care of medically. That was the day that my grandmother fell in love with my father. Now fast forward about 44 years, 45 years, and I am sitting at Baylor Scott and White in Temple, Texas. I am receiving a blood exchange. A blood exchange is where they draw out so many cc's of your blood and then replace it with a transfusion. So that's why they call it a blood exchange. I have a very, very wonderful hemonc team here, led by Dr. Mason, and my nurse practitioner is Rick DeVault, and they've all been gifts from God. Seriously, gifts from God. I was diagnosed with sickle cell disease in 1982. I was 8 years old. This was at Williams Air Force Base. Unfortunately, my diagnosis got lost in the shuffle of things, and for whatever reason, it was never brought up again, although I was in and out of the hospital quite a bit with a lot of pain, a lot of respiratory issues. When I'd be having pain, the only way I could describe it as a little girl was that my body was on fire. That's just what it felt like. It felt like my body was on fire. I remember PE being like my best and worst time because I loved to play, but there was always that chance of me passing out, literally passing out. And I remember my PE teacher having to carry me back often to the PE classroom. I remember having to sit out while other kids were playing kickball. Didn't understand what was going on, had no clue what was going on. However, that didn't deter me from being as active as possible And being a military child, growing up all over the world and having access to different environments outside in Alaska. We played in the snow, we sledded, we ice skated, we played hockey, we skied, we snowboarded, we rode snowmobiles. I mean, we built igloos. There was just so much to do, and so we were always busy, always active. Loved Alaska. When we lived in Los Angeles, it was basketball, and handball and double dutch. I have great memories, very, very beautiful memories, awesome memories. So fast forward to college, 1994. I'm in Georgia and I'm attending school at Valdosta State University. I'm in Air Force ROTC because I wanted to follow my father's footsteps and join the military. I was going to go into the Army straight after high school. However, my father made me promise that I would not join the military unless I was going in as a commissioned officer. So I said, deal. Began school at Valdosta State University. Began the Air Force ROTC program. Loved it, loved everything about it. However, one day after PT, I passed out, came to, and all I could say was my body was on fire. My body's on fire. I was rushed to the hospital, and I had my entire squad, there to support me, and I have the greatest friends in college, some of whom are still really, really close to me and so dear to my heart. And all of my friends back in college are the reason why I'm still here today, because of the love and because of the support that I was given. My Colonel Hudson, his secretary, Mrs. Trippett, these people helped me and honestly saved my life in ways that they'll never know or understand. A couple of weeks later, I get my diagnosis, and Dr. Cheeseman on Moody Air Force Base told me that I have sickle cell disease. And I began to argue with her, and I said, no, I have the trait. She's like, no, sweetheart, you have the disease. Hit me like a ton of bricks. And at that point in time, I knew that my hopes of being in the military were gone forever. You see a lot of people with the trait in the military, and some people slip in under the radar with sickle cell disease, but that's probably because they haven't manifested symptoms, or if they have, it's not known. And, sometimes sickle cell is an afterthought. And another thing, sickle cell is not a black disease. It's not a disease that only affects the African American community. There are people I know that are white, that are of Greek heritage, Italian, Germans, Portuguese, I know, that have sickle cell disease. Now, there are different forms of sickle cell disease, but anyone in the world, no matter where you're from, it is possible for you to have sickle cell disease. So in 1994, I didn't really know much about it. I only knew one person that had it, my Aunt Janice, my cousin Buffy's mother. She passed away in 1995. And when she passed away, it really took a toll on me, because she was the only connection I had, the only other person that understood what I was going through. And this was still relatively new to me, in the sense that I finally knew what was going on. But I was still having a hard time processing everything. I dealt with depression for a very, very long time. It affected my schooling. I've tried to go back to school several times. It affected my work. I have attempted to go back to work. I can't even count anymore. It always seemed like I would start something, and then I would get sick, and then I would have to stop doing it. And after a while, that takes a toll on you mentally. I do know people that have gotten their Juris Doctors, that have gotten their medical degrees, that have gone on to to obtain their higher education degrees and that have, been able to have successful careers. And honestly, I would feel a twinge of jealousy when I would see that, because I would think, I'm wasting my life away. All this knowledge that I have, why can't I be like so-and-so and just do it and work through it? There's one of my Facebook friends, she's a lawyer. And when she and I talk, I love picking her brain, and she shares the difficulties that she had. There's another young woman who is a pediatrician, and she's had to tailor her work schedule and her hours according to how she's feeling. So there was just so much information, so much going on. And as I have gone into this thing 46 years now, I keep learning more and more about it, and I try to educate myself as much as possible. One of the things that I learned the last couple of years is that sickle cell also affects your dentition because of the anemia, severe dehydration. These are things that we deal with. And as I've gotten older, my baseline has gone from an 11.1 to about an 8.3, 8.5. And unfortunately, after surgical procedures, I go into hemolysis, which will drop it down to a 6. So I've had to have several upon several blood transfusions administered, to the point where I have several different antibodies that I've built up as well. So getting blood takes a while. And I'm here today in Temple at Baylor Scott and White, getting my blood exchange and my blood transfusion in preparation for my full oral reconstruction tomorrow that will be done at Darnell Medical Center on Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas. Now, I told you the story earlier about my father and how he walked Luke Air Force Base to get all that paperwork signed, filled out, so that I could officially become his dependent and have access to medical care. And because of that day, God is so good, I still have access to medical care. And I can't express to you how blessed I am, because for the last 2 years, I've been walking around saddened over the fact that my teeth, my pretty teeth, are no longer there. And I joke a lot because I feel like if I'm not laughing, I'm crying. I'd rather be laughing. But as you can see, my teeth just have been decimated. And this isn't a result of poor oral hygiene. I brush my teeth a couple times a day. I'm always flossing. This isn't a result of eating sugar all day long, drinking sugar all day long. I also had gastric bypass surgery in 2015. Unbeknownst to me at the time, that can also affect your dentition. So with the sickle cells, the primary cause, and then here comes the gastric bypass, secondary cause. My teeth have suffered. And I am preparing, like I said, with an exchange and a transfusion today, so that I'm able to have a full oral reconstruction of my teeth. And this is something that I thought I was going to have to pay out of pocket, $12,000 with dental insurance. But God is so good that He made a way for me to be able to have oral reconstructive surgery without any cost to me. I get emotional when I talk about this, because I'm not deserving. I'm not deserving of His goodness. I don't know what I've done to deserve His love and His mercy. And I'm so grateful, because there are so many others in my position Yes, please. Thank you, Sarah. I have the best nurses, too. Make no mistake, I'm not a good person, and I fall short every day. I fall short every day. However, my God still sees fit to do for me and to provide for me and to make a way for me. There is nothing that can compare to his love. I'm 46. I've never been married. I've never had any children of my own. I live at home. That's enough to depress anybody. And yes, there are times where I get down about my situation. However, I have to step back and look and say, just because you don't have this and you don't have that doesn't make you less than. Look at what you do have. Look at what you do have. You still have medical benefits because of your father. And that walk he took 45 years ago to get all that paperwork signed so that I could become his official dependent. Because of that walk that man took, I'm here right now getting top-notch medical care. And tomorrow morning, I'll go into surgery to have my smile and my confidence restored. I didn't know how I'd be able to do it. I thought I was going to end up incurring a lot of debt and just have to figure out a way to pay it off. And I don't have to worry about that. And I wanted to make this video because I know that it gets hard, and I know that it's very easy to lose your hope, and it's very, very easy to lose your faith. I know, because I've been there where my faith was so shaken, and I couldn't see a way out. And then God got a hold of me, and he said, "You're my child." And I sent my only son to die on the cross for you. And not only did he die on the cross for my sins, when he died on the cross, he took all of my pain and all of my sickness with him. He's made a way out of no way. He's never forsaken me. He's never forgotten me. And I'm just this lowly human that doesn't make him proud on a daily basis. I'm not always obedient like I should be. And yet and still, he still loves me. And he still wants the best for me. And I'm so grateful I'm so grateful to my Heavenly Father for the earthly father that He has given me. And my father and I were so much alike that we butt heads all the time. However, there's nobody on this earth I'd rather argue with than my dad. I'm so grateful to this man. I'm so grateful, and I don't think he knows exactly how grateful I am to him. Because of him, I still have medical coverage. Are you understanding me? I didn't like the label incapacitated adult child. I didn't like the fact that I see my friends who have gone through all these different chapters in life, and I feel like I'm still on page 4 of chapter 1 as they've moved on to chapters 4, 5, and 6. However, I know that that's just me thinking that because I listen to others share with me how they feel about me, and they let me know that, no, you're here for a reason. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. And I hold on to that because I do know that God doesn't do anything by mistake. I know that He does have an ultimate purpose for me being here. Although there have been times where I didn't want to be here anymore. There are times I prayed for death. I just prayed and said, God, just please take me. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I did die. I coded. It was an accidental overdose of Ambien. I was sleepwalking and still just taking it. One of my dogs saved my life. She alerted my father, Simone Pilar. And at that time, I weighed 375 pounds. And my dad said when the paramedics were trying to lift me, they couldn't. And he had to watch this. I don't know how much that hurt him, but I just know listening to him tell me broke my heart. And I never wanted to put my father through something like that again. He didn't deserve that. And so I knew I had to make a change. I knew I had to do something differently. I did have gastric bypass because that was one thing I said I'm never going to put my father through again. Lost 200 pounds. I'm just so grateful to be alive and so grateful to be here and so grateful to be able to share my story with you. I am not just my advocate, my patient advocate, but I also advocate for others. And if any of you are out there right now dealing with a very stressful situation or having issues with your medical team, you may not know which questions to ask, or you just may need some extra support, please reach out. Please reach out. Because I know what it's like to almost feel like you don't have a voice or that you're not being heard. I know what it's like to be walking a tightrope and always feel like you're slipping and there's no net at the bottom. I know what it's like to be standing on the edge of that cliff and wanting to just walk off of it and leave everything behind. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be in so much pain, but you can't even talk. And the only sounds you can make don't even sound human. I know what it's like to be misunderstood and to not be believed. I know what it's like to be called a drug addict, a drug seeker. I know what it's like to be told that the pain is all in your head. I know what it's like to be told that your problem isn't physical, but it's psychological and physiological. I know what it's like to lie awake in bed and your brain won't turn off because the pain won't allow it. I know what it's like to go without sleep for 4 days straight and you feel like you are about to lose your mind. I know what it's like to watch loved ones and friends and even children, teenagers that you mentored, pass on. And you wonder in the back of your head, when will it be me? What will I be able to finish and accomplish before I leave? I know what it's like to be told you probably won't live into your 30s. I know what it's like to be told you should never have children. I know what it's like to feel that you will never be loved unconditionally, 100%. Because you feel like no one will want you because of your illness, because you come with too much baggage, because it's too hard to deal with. I know what it's like to make plans that you have to cancel. I know what it's like to feel like you're always letting your friends and your family down. Because it's always, sorry guys, I can't today. I'm in too much pain. Sorry guys, I can't today. I'm in the hospital. Sorry guys, I can't today. I don't have the energy. I know what it's like to look at your children and not be able to get up and do for them. I have my nieces, whom I love with everything I am. And it would hurt me so badly, especially when they were young, they were babies. And I couldn't do for them like I wanted to do for them because I couldn't even do for myself. I know what it's like to look at your pets, who are your family, and not be able to give them everything you want to give them at that time because you're in so much pain or because you're not even there, you're in the hospital. However, with all that said, I know what it's like to be loved unconditionally. I do know what it's like to be believed and to have somebody listen to me. I know what it's like to have the love of God, the love of Jesus Christ in my life. I know what it's like to have support of your friends, your family, your church family, your neighbors, your doctors, your nurses. I know what it's like to have prayers from strangers and support and help and encouragement from strangers. I know what it's like to have that unconditional love that you can only get from your dog. I know what it's like to be loved. I know what it's like to love. With everything that I've experienced that I consider bad, has always turned into something good. I may not see it at that time. I may not want to see it. I may not want to deal with it. However, God has always made a way for those situations to teach me and therefore end up being positive. When I talk about my sickle cell disease or things relating to it, I call her she. I put an article on it because sickle cell is a part of me. Sickle cell is not all of me, but sickle cell is a part of me. Sickle cell plays a very big factor in a lot of the decisions that I make in my life. Sickle cell has taught me patience, compassion, empathy. Sickle cell has shown me ways that I need to change to be a better person. Sickle cell has given me an education that surpasses anything that I would learn sitting in a classroom reading from a textbook. Sickle cell has brought people into my life that have become lifelong friends and family. So with all of the negative things I've said and could say about sickle cell, there have been so many positive things that she has brought into my life. We all have our crosses to bear. We all go through struggles. We all go through trials and tribulations. Not all of us are going to walk the same path, and even if we walk a path that's similar, it's still going to be different. We could walk the same trail right now, and that trail is going to be just a little bit different when I walk down it than it was when you walked down it. There may be more leaves on the ground. The dirt may have settled differently. There may be a rabbit walking alongside of me, whereas there wasn't one walking alongside of you. So when I look at everything, I'm grateful because I have so much. I have so much. I know people that are homeless with sickle cell disease. I know people who are hungry with sickle cell disease. I know people that don't have any type of support. And I know that right now, with everything that's going on in the world, I've had peers die in the hospital alone because they weren't allowed to have somebody there holding their hand. I've had one of my closest friends have to relearn to walk and talk and write and eat. And she did these things without support, without physical support of family and friends, because everybody has to be separated and kept apart. And in actuality, all of this isolation is doing more detriment to people than an actual illness. But even though we're going through something that I never thought I'd be alive to see, I'm still grateful that God has chosen to keep me around to see these things. Although I may not be able to have somebody sitting right here next to me, I'm still able to be sitting here. You understand? I'm still able to be sitting here. And that's okay, because He's gotten me through so much worse. He's definitely going to get me through this. And I just wanted to share with you all that there's always hope. Don't give up. And if you need to talk to somebody, reach out to somebody, because there is somebody who understands what you're going through. We as sickle cell patients, we may have the same disease, yet we experience it differently because we're individuals. We may have similar stories, but yet those stories are going to have variations because we're all different people. I've lived in Turkey, met doctors who knew about sickle cell, had sickle cell patients, but their walks were different than my walk as an American and how I deal with it. I've been to a hospital in the country of Kuwait. They know all about sickle cell, just handle it differently. And so I'm very grateful to be here, to be in my country, and to have access to the medical care that I have. I'm grateful to the United States military, and I'm so very grateful to my mother and to my father and to my friends, Francis, Keisha, Jimmy, Leanne, Faye. I could sit here all day and name every one of you that has shown up and been there for me. Heather, Christina, Joyce, Robin, Janet, Brian, my Brandy, my Julia, my Paris, my Phoenix, Angie, Uncle Ron, my Granda, who's no longer here, my Aunt Janice, Buffy, Dave, Monica, and my beloved pets. My pets, I'm so grateful to my pets. One of whom has been trained to be my service dog, and Otis has even stayed with me in the hospital. This is just God. This is how God works. And I'm grateful that He's chosen me to be one of His children. Marcus, Natalie, Miss Deb, Tessa, Luke, Jake, Linda, Jacob. I mean, the list, I could just keep going and going and going. Auntie Viv, Auntie Maria, Auntie Julie. Even people that are no longer in my life on a daily basis or at all, I thank you too. Because you're ultimately part of my quilt. And I want to say thank you again to the HEMONC team here at Baylor Scott and White, Rick, Dr. Mason, and all of my nurses here in the infusion center on the 8th floor. Even those I may butt heads with, I'm still grateful for you. to Billy Johnson Oral Surgery, to Darnell Medical Center, Fort Hood, Commander Oplinsky, Dr. Eidson, Dr. Khan, Dr. Krana, Dr. Bible and his team, Lieutenant Thompson. Anyhow, if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to me and I will respond as soon as I'm able. But just know that you're loved and that there is somebody out there that can listen, that will listen, and that can be an ear if that's what you need. Anyhow, my blood transfusion is going in. They took out my blood. Now they're transfusing me. And I'll get another unit. So I have a few more hours to just kind of sit here and hang out and chill. And I'm so excited to be able to show you my new teeth. That's the one benefit about these face masks. When I put them on, I can laugh and chortle and snort, and nobody can see the nightmarescape that's inside of my mouth. Anyhow, thank you for taking the time to listen to this Chatty Cathy. Be blessed, and I pray that you all have really wonderful days, and very Merry Christmas, and a very, very blessed New Year.